Hello students, welcome to class 8th standard. My name is Preeti Kulkarni. So today we will study English chapter, second chapter, that is after 20 years. So after 20 years is written by O. Henry. O. Henry, you can see on the screen children, picture of O. Henry. O. Henry is the pen name of American writer William Sidney Porter, who wrote over 400 short stories known for their wit, characterization, and surprise endings. Most of O. Henry's stories are set in the New York of the early 20th century and are about ordinary people like clerks, policemen, and waitresses. Some of his famous short stories with twist endings are The Last Leaf, The Gift of the Maggie, and The Green Door. O. Henry is born in the year 1862 and died in the year 1910. So, we will start the chapter, children, now. The policeman on the beat moved up the avenue impressively. The impressiveness was habitual and not for show, for spectators were few. The time was barely 10 o'clock at night, but chilly gusts of wind with a taste of rain in them had high developed high to the people's street. So, children, the story begins with a beat cop walking down a New York City street on a rainy, windy night. So, here in your textbook, first paragraph, what they have explained here, what they have shown, the story begins with a beat cop walking down a New York City street on a rainy, windy night. The cop projects a sense of strength and rectitude and takes his rounds very seriously on the street. Now we will move to next slide, children. Trying doors as he went, twirling his club with many intricate and artful movements, turning now and then to cast his watchful eye down the Pacific thoroughfare, the officer with his stalwart form and slight swagger made a fine picture of a guardian of the peace. The vicinity was one that kept early hours. Now and then you might see the lights of cigar store of an all-night lunch counter, but the majority of the doors belonged to business places that had long since been closed. So here one new word has come, children, twirling. You know the meaning of twirling? Twirling means what? Making the club turn quickly and lightly round and round. And then frame, swagger, many new words are there. Swagger means what, children? A way of walking or behaving that seems very confident. When you walk confidently, that is called as swagger, swaggering. So here in this paragraph, what he wants to tell the author, so when the cop projects a sense of strength and rectitude, and how he walks very confidently and takes his round very seriously, trying all the doors of the shops as he passes them to ensure that they are locked and secured for that evening. When he sees a man standing near one of the closed stores, and then he approaches and the man begins to explain his presence, telling him that he is waiting for an old friend. When about midway of a certain block, the policeman suddenly slowed his walk. In the doorway of a darkened hardware store, a man leaned with an unlighted cigar in his mouth. As the policeman walked up to him, the man spoke up quickly. "It's all right, officer," he said reassuringly. "I'm just waiting for a friend. It's an appointment made 20 years ago. Sounds a little funny to you, doesn't it?" Well, I will explain if you would like to make certain it's all straight. About that long ago, there used to be a restaurant where the store stands Big Joe Brady's restaurant. So, here in this paragraph, when he sees the man standing near one of the closed stores, he approaches and the man begins to explain his presence. Why he is standing there, telling him that he is waiting for an old friend 20 years before. He and his friends made a pact to meet at that site. He acknowledges that it's a pretty odd place to meet, explaining that 20 years before it was a restaurant owned by a man named Big Joe Brady. That restaurant belonged to Big Joe Brady. The cop tells him that the restaurant closed down about 5 years before. The man in the doorway struck a match and lit his cigar. The light showed a pale, square jawed face with keen eyes and a little white scar near his right eyebrow. His scarf pin was a large diamond, oddly set. The man who is wearing a very large jewel as a tie pin goes on to tell the cop that 20 years before he met his friend Jimmy Wells there. They were best friends and had grown up in New York City. He described them as almost like brothers. The day after their dinner, the man was scheduled to begin a trip out west to seek his fortune. But Jimmy believed the best place for him to be was New York and opted to stay behind. Then they made their agreement to meet on the same spot in 20 years because they were each confident of having achieved great things in that time. 20 years ago tonight, said the man, I dined here at Big Joe Brady's with Jimmy Wells, my best chum and the finest chap in the world. He and I were raised here in New York just like two brothers together. I was 18 and Jimmy was 20. The next morning I was to start for the West to make my fortune. You couldn't have dragged Jimmy out of New York. He thought it was the only place on earth. Well, we agreed that night that we would meet her again, here again, exactly 20 years from that date and time. No matter what our conditions might be, from what distance we might have to come. We figured that in 20 years, each of us ought to have our destiny worked out and our fortunes made whatever they were going to. So the cop finds himself interested in the story and asks if they stayed in touch during that time. The man admits that they tried to and wrote each other for a little while but stopped after a few years. He moved around too much to keep up a correspondence. Despite this gap in their communication, the man is confident that Jimmy will meet him as promised because Jimmy was an extremely reliable person. He tells the cop that he traveled a very long way to be there, but will consider it worth it if he gets to see his friend again. He checks the time on an expensive watch and notes that it is 3 minutes to 10 and 10 o'clock was when they said goodbye 20 years before. It sounds pretty interesting, said the policeman. Rather a long time between meets, though it seems to me. Haven't you heard from your friend since you left? Well, yes, for a time we corresponded, said the other, but after a year or two we lost track of each other. You see, the West is a pretty big proposition, and I kept hustling around over it pretty lively. But I know Jimmy will meet me here if he is alive, for he always was the truest, stanchest old chap in the world. He will never forget I came 1,000 miles to stand in his door tonight, and it's worth it if my old partner turns up. The cop, noting that the jewel and the watch suggest that the man was very successful out west, and the man enthusiastically confirms he expresses hope that Jimmy has done just as well for himself. But he notes that Jimmy was a slow mover and is worried he may not have made his way very far in New York City. The waiting man pulled out a handsome watch, the lids of it set with small diamonds. 3 minutes to 10, he announced. It was exactly 10 o'clock when he parted here at the restaurant door. Did pretty well out west, didn't you? Asked the policeman. You bet. I hope Jimmy has done half as well. He was a kind of plodder. Plodder, one new world children. Do you know the meaning of plodder? A person who works slowly and steadily, but without imagination. That person is called as plodder. Plodder, the good fellow as he was, I have had to compete with some of the sharpest wits going to get my pile. A man gets in a groove in New York, it takes the waist to put a razor edge on him. The policeman twirled his club and took a step or two. I'll be on my way. Hope your friend comes around all right. Going to call time on him sharp? I should not, said the other. I'll give him half an hour at least. So the cop makes to leave and offers his hope that Jimmy shows up. He turns up. He asks if the man will leave if Jimmy doesn't make it by 10 o'clock. The man says he will wait at least an additional half an hour because he has total faith that if Jimmy is alive, he will make the appointment. The cop accepts this and leaves. I'll be on my way. Hope your friend comes around all right. Going to call time on him sharp. I should say not, said the other. I will give him half an hour at least. If Jimmy is alive on earth, he will be here by that time. So long, officer. Good night, sir, said the policeman, passing on along his bit, trying doors as he went. There was now a fine cold drizzle falling. It was drizzling there, students, and the wind had risen from its uncertain puffs into a steady blow. The few foot passengers stir in that quarter hurried dismally and silently, along with coat collars turned high and pocketed hands. Hands were in the pockets. And in the door of the hardware store, the man who had come 1,000 miles to fill an appointment, uncertain almost to absurdity with a friend of his youth, smoked with cigar and waited. So the rain gets heavier and the man waits. So in this paragraph, what they want to tell us, children? Here they have described about the climate. It was raining. The rain gets heavier there and the man waits. After about 20 minutes, a tall man appears wearing a long coat and hurries over. He asks if the man's name is Bob, but sounds doubtful. The man says it is and asks if it's Jimmy Wells. He is, and then they shake. Jimmy expresses a wish that the old restaurant was still there so that could have one more dinner in it, and then asks if Bob's time out west was good to him. Bob assures him that it has been. Is that you, Jimmy Wells? Cried the man in the door. Bless my heart, exclaimed the new arrival, grasping both the other's hand with his own. It's Bob, sure as fate. I was certain I would find you here if you were still in existence. Well, 20 years is a long time. The old gone, Bob, I wish it had lasted, so we could have had another dinner there. How has the waste treated you, old man? Bulai. So it has given me everything I asked it for. You have changed lots, Jimmy. I never thought you were so tall by 2 or 3 inches. Oh, I grew a bit after I was 20. Doing well in New York, Jimmy? Moderately. I have a position in one of the city departments. Come on, Bob. We will go around a place I know of and have a good long talk about old times. The two men started up the street, arm in arm. The man from the West, his egoism, enlarged by success, was beginning to outline the history of his career. The other, submerged in his overcoat, listened with interest. So, the children, the cop makes to leave and he offers his hope that Jimmy shows up. He turns up. He asks if the man will leave if Jimmy doesn't make it by 10 o'clock. The man says he will wait at least additional half an hour. Then he says that Jimmy well sees and that shakes. Jimmy expresses a wish that the old restaurant was still there so he could have one more dinner in it. Both then notes that Jimmy seems to be taller than he used to be. So here you can see on screen, children, what the dialogue is given there. Oh, I grew a bit after 20 years. So he says, yeah, you look 2 or 3 inches taller. So Bob then notes that Jimmy seems to be taller than he used to be. And Jimmy assures him that he grew a little after he left. Bob asks him if Jimmy is doing well, and Jimmy says he is. He is doing well and that he works for the city. Jimmy suggests they go to a place he knows so that they can talk. Then the two men started up the street, arm in arm. The man from the west. We have finished this. The man from the west stopped suddenly and released his arm. You are not Jimmy Wells, he snapped. After 20 years is a long time, but not long enough to change a man's nose from a Roman to a pug. It sometimes changes a good man into a bad one, said the tall man. You have been under arrest for 10 minutes, Silky Bob. Chicago thinks you may have dropped over our way, and wires says she wants to have a chat with you. Going quietly, are you? That's sensible. Now, before we go on to a station, here is a note I was asked to hand you. You may read it after. You may read it here at the window. It's from Patrolman Wells. The man from the waist unfolded the little piece of paper, handed him. His hand was steady when he began to read, but it trembled a little by the time he had finished. The note was rather short. Bob, I was at the appointed place on time. When you struck the match to light your cigar, I saw it was the face of the man wanted in Chicago. Somehow I couldn't do it myself, so I went around and got a plain clothes man to do the job. Jimmy. So here, Bob then notes that Jimmy seems to be taller than he used to be, and Jimmy assures him that he grew a little after he left. Bob asks him Jimmy is doing well, and Jimmy says he is and that he works for the city. Jimmy suggests that go to a place he knows so that they can talk. Bob and Jimmy begin to walk arm in arm. Bob tells Jimmy the story of his life, and Jimmy listens, obviously interested. When they reach a corner and stand under a street light, however, Bob pulls away and declares that the other man is not Jimmy Wells. So strange, no children? The tall man tells Bob that he has, in fact, been under arrest since the tall man arrived. He tells Bob that the Chicago police contacted the New York cops and told them to watch out for him. He asks if Bob will come quietly, and when Bob indicates he will, he hands him a note from a policeman named Wells. The note tells him that Jimmy came to their meeting but did not wish to arrest him himself, and so sent another officer to do it. So here our lesson ends, children. Hope you understood this lesson. Bye. Goodbye, children. Students, I am sending a short link. So please do watch this. It is based on this lesson, on this chapter. Okay, a short movie based on this chapter. So you watch this movie also, children. Thank you.